Two people, same salary, same job, same city. 20 years later, one of them retires with over $1 million. The other is still working, still stressed, still wondering where all the money went. They didn't win the lottery. They didn't get a secret inheritance. They just understood one thing the other person never did. And it's not complicated, it's not risky, and it's not just for Wall Street guys in suits. It's called investing. And by the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly what it is, why almost nobody teaches it properly. Watching this could quietly change the next 10 years of your life.
Let's call them Sarah and Jake. Both 25, both just landed decent jobs, both start saving $200 a month. That's it, nothing extreme. Sarah puts hers into a regular savings account, the kind her bank keeps recommending because it feels safe. Jake puts his into a simple index fund, something that tracks the overall stock market. Neither of them touches the money. They just let it sit. Fast forward 30 years. Sarah's savings account, even with modest interest, has grown to around $80,000. Solid, safe, predictable. Jake's investment, growing at the market's long-term historical average, has ballooned to over $400,000. Same amount of money put in, same amount of discipline. The only difference is that Jake understood what investing actually does, and Sarah never did. That gap right there, that $320,000 gap, is not luck. It's math. And it's math almost nobody explains to us in school.
Here's the simplest way to think about it. Saving is putting your money in a box and keeping it safe. Investing is putting your money to work so it can make more money, even while you sleep, even while you're on vacation, even while you're doing absolutely nothing. When you invest, you're essentially buying a small piece of something that has the potential to grow in value over time. A piece of a company through stocks, a piece of a building through real estate, a piece of a loan through bonds. You're not just storing your money anymore, you're putting it into motion. Think about it like planting a seed instead of leaving it in a jar. A seed in a jar stays a seed forever. A seed in soil, given time, water, and patience, becomes a tree that keeps producing more seeds year after year without you doing much at all.
There's a reason people study Warren Buffett, and it's not because he's the richest man to ever live. It's because of when he started. Buffett bought his very first stock at 11 years old, a handful of shares in a company called City Service. It wasn't a huge win. In fact, he sold too early and missed out on bigger gains later. But that single decision, made as a child, planted the habit that compounded for the next 80 years. By the time most people start seriously thinking about investing, in their 30s, 40s, sometimes later, Buffett had already been compounding wealth for 2 or 3 decades. That's not because he was a genius picking magic stocks. It's because time did the heavy lifting, and he simply got out of its way. This brings us to the single most powerful force in all of investing. Einstein reportedly called it the 8th wonder of the world. It's called compound interest, and once you understand it, you'll never look at money the same way again. Imagine you invest $10,000 and it grows at an average of 8% a year, roughly what the stock market has historically returned over long periods. In year 1, you earn $800. Simple enough. But in year 2, you're not earning 8% on $10,000 anymore. You're earning it on $10,800 because last year's gains are now part of your total. It sounds small at first. It always does. But stretch that out over 20, 30, 40 years, and the curve stops looking like a straight line and starts looking like a hockey stick. In the early years, compound interest is almost invisible. In the later years, it becomes unstoppable. That's exactly why the people who start investing at 25 almost always end up ahead of people who start at 45, even if the older starter puts in more money each month. Time isn't just a factor in investing. Time is the entire game.
If this is so powerful, why doesn't everyone do it?
Here's the uncomfortable truth. Our brains are wired for survival, not for 30-year plans. Psychologically, humans are far more sensitive to losing money than to missing out on gaining it, a pattern researchers call loss aversion. That's why watching your investment dip by 10% feels far worse than the quiet satisfaction of it growing 10%, even though mathematically they should feel equal. Add to that the instant gratification culture most of us live in, one-click purchases, same-day delivery, next-day everything. and investing feels painfully slow by comparison. It doesn't give you a dopamine hit today, it gives you freedom 15 years from now. And in a world built around today, 15 years from now sounds like forever. This is exactly why so many people in the US, the UK, Australia, and New Zealand feel financially anxious despite earning decent incomes. It's not because they're bad with money, it's because they were never taught that money left sitting still is actually losing value every single year through inflation. Quietly, invisibly, but constantly.
Here's something that should genuinely unsettle you. If your money sits in a regular bank account earning next to nothing, and prices in the economy rise by roughly 3% a year on average, your money isn't standing still. It's shrinking in real terms every single year, even though the number on your bank statement never changes. This is why simply saving isn't enough anymore. Saving protects your money from theft. Investing protects your money from time. And in the long run, time is the far bigger threat to your wealth than any market crash ever will be.
People often say investing is risky, and short term, that's true. Markets go up, markets go down, sometimes violently, like in 2008 or early 2020. But here's what almost nobody tells you. The real risk isn't the market dropping. The real risk is never starting, staying on the sidelines for decades and watching inflation and lost time quietly cost you far more than any crash ever could. Historically, markets have always recovered and moved higher over long enough time horizons, even after their worst crashes. The people who lost the most in past downturns weren't usually the ones who stayed invested. They were the ones who panicked, sold at the bottom, and locked in their losses permanently.
So, what is investing, really? It's not gambling. It's not something only rich people or Wall Street traders get to do. It's simply the decision to let your money work as hard as you do, starting now instead of someday. Sarah and Jake started with the exact same $200 a month. The only difference between $80,000 and $400,000 was one simple decision, made early and left alone. You don't need to be an expert. You don't need to time the market perfectly. You just need to start, stay consistent, and give time the room it needs to do what it's always done. Quietly, patiently, turn small decisions into life-changing outcomes. If this changed the way you think about money even slightly, that's exactly the point. Subscribe, because the next video breaks down exactly how to start investing with your very first $100.